Okay, and we are live.
We were just talking about the efficiencies of having one ecosystem. Like when I have these AirPod Max on, it's connected immediately to my MacBook Pro. But the minute I stop and I'm like, oh, I'm going to look at this real quick, the audio it just switches. I don't have to click, just when things just work, it's just so
Yeah,
nice,
it
you
feels
know?
smart and yeah.
Yeah,
No,
and I know,
I
oh,
totally
you're
get that.
stuck in the monopoly and you can't get out of the ecosystem. But I mean, like, the ecosystem works for me. So,
Yeah,
you
it's
know,
like if you don't want to get out of the ecosystem, then it's not a problem.
yeah. I'm not even saying like, oh, this is more superior than Microsoft. It's just I'm happy that it all works. So if I was a Microsoft user and only a Microsoft user, great, because I would probably want it all to work also, like is there nothing wrong? Is there something wrong with wanting it to just work, guys?
And
Anyway,
Sarah, the whole reason it started is because I booted up my MacBook, my MacBook Pro,
Uh-huh.
and my new iPad, and then hooked up my AirPods, and all of it worked together to where I'm using dual screen, and I've got my microphone coming from the AirPod. I've had the sound coming through the AirPod, and the Mac,
sounds great.
and the iPad is actually acting as my second screen wirelessly. And
Oh,
Isn't
I had never set
nice.
this
it's
up
just
before. The
it's
AirPods had
so
never
great.
hooked up to the Mac before. The iPad is brand new. I just got it like last week.
Oh,
So,
one of the
but
new
now it's
ones.
all. It's actually not a new one. It's actually
Okay.
the 10th gen regular iPad.
Okay. Yeah.
But I might upgrade it to the iPad Pro or the new iPad Air. One of the two. I'm in
Oh,
the
you mean like trading in kind of thing?
yeah, yeah. Because you got 30. I bought it through Verizon because they had a special going on, and you have 30 days. So I might use that
Oh,
30 days to bump it up a spec.
well,
But
look at you.
that's neither here nor there. But yeah, it all worked just seamlessly, and it just came together, and it's nice. So
See, that's
that's
just
that's where the conversation started, Sarah, while you were gone.
Well, I'm glad to hear that things are going so well.
From my remote Airbnb. Yes. All right,
yay.
ladies, I
I
am
love the
ready for whenever
background
you guys are ready.
actually.
So,
That's actually a really nice background, Amos. It's like there's a little bit of
little
depth, and then you've got some shadows. I don't know. It looks nice.
it's
It looks a little bit like a bunker, but it's nice. Yeah, there we go.
it's a loft, and there's a bed, the bathroom back here. There's no doors. There's like you can go to the kitchen. There's no doors. It's kind of weirdly open, but you know, Airbnb life.
Love it.
Well, um, I used to be an Airbnb host, which is a
Oh, right.
story for another time. But I've had as a guest lots of great experiences with Airbnb. I mean, people go like, "Oh, isn't a hotel like better because they can just like clean clean your space every day and you go downstairs and go get a coffee." And I'm like, sometimes, but like sometimes it's better to just like feel like you have more privacy,
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
Neither or
And
any better than the other.
this is a
Mhm.
3 bedroom, one and 3/4 bath that we have
Okay.
for about half the price of a hotel in the area.
Well, I mean, yeah, price
Like,
definitely plays into this.
yeah. All right, I'm
Um,
disappearing. You guys can start the show anytime. I am ready for you.
all right, let's do it. Let's do it. Okay, I'll count myself in. In 3, 2. Well, hello and welcome back, everybody, to Apple Vision Show, the show that is all things Apple. What we like about Apple, what we don't like, what we want from Apple, and what the company might give us in the future. Hello, I'm Sarah Lane.
And I'm Eileen Rivera.
Eileen Rivera, how the heck is it hanging?
It's 2 weeks till WWDC. And, I had been prepping for the show and I'm like, oh, it's one of those weeks. Like, we're just gearing up, lots of rumors, lots of things. But at the end
Yeah.
of the day,
Yeah.
we
Mhm.
just want to know, give it to us. So 10 a.m. Pacific, right? On, let's see, I have it on the calendar, June 10th. We're
Yep.
gonna rock and roll, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm
We're
just
we're we're
anxious.
gonna rock and roll for sure.
I'm
Yeah.
anxious. I think I'm at that point where I'm like, all right, please just tell me what's going on. Do we
Well,
really have
it's
to wait this
also,
long?
and not everybody lives in the US, but for those who do, you know that we just got through a holiday weekend, Memorial weekend, which always is, I mean, it's nice because, sometimes people get to take a little bit of time off, but it also makes the news just absolutely die. Because everyone knows, like, no one's paying attention, so we're not gonna
Yeah.
leak a bunch of news,
Yeah.
So you end up kind of doing this, like, limp into summer where
Mm,
there are gonna be, I mean, WWDC is going to be, I think, a pretty big event, and, I think we're gonna, hear a lot about how AI is going to be part of iOS 18, iPad OS, Mac OS. I mean, I, I, I think
mm.
that Apple is, even though we had our iPad announcement, what, about a month ago now,
Yeah. Yeah.
and which was great. I think that Apple was holding cards close to chest because
Yeah.
they're going to really bring it in June. That's
Yeah.
that's that's my feeling.
Yeah. I think, we've had now Google announcements and Microsoft's announcements. They're in there like throwing in their weight. Like, this is what we can do. We're amazing. We're
Yeah.
faster. We're better, blah, blah, blah. And then but I still feel we have one more thing to listen for. And hopefully it blows us all
One more
away. I
thing.
mean,
Yeah.
I have big expectations. I don't know about you, Sarah, but I have big expectations. Just the way I'm loving, the sunset is at like 7:58 p.m. these days. I'm like, wow, it's light for so long. I have some
As-
big expectations.
how does sunset, okay, I
I
mean,
don't
I
know. It
I
just
I
makes me
agree with
happy.
you. I also love that, just sort of like time of year,
Yeah.
feeling optimistic type stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just making me energetic for this. So, you know what it is though? I'm worried high expectations I could be let down, really, really badly. But we'll see. I don't think they will.
Well, on the latest episode of Daily Tech News Show, where Charlotte Henry joined Tom Merritt and myself, and we were talking about, all sorts of just sort of like AI things in
Mhm.
general. Like, do we use it? Is it
Mhm.
overhyped? Besides like trying to like get out of a book report when you're, a senior in high school, like, are people really using this? And I
Mhm.
mean, the answer is yes, people
Right.
are. But at the same time, just, I don't know, yesterday, 2 days ago, a friend of mine was like, so, like, what's going on with Google Gemini? And I'm like, in what capacity? Like, ask me something more specific.
Right.
And they were like, well, like, if I'm going to walk into a meeting with, a bunch of emails unread, and I need to kind of like have more context, is that really going to be the tool that I say, like, summarize my emails before I go into this meeting with, these
Mm.
specific people? And I was like, I don't know. I
Hmm.
mean, in a perfect world, yes. I mean, Google wants you to say yes.
Yeah.
That is what we're doing. In a perfect world, sure, but I don't know. I think to bring it back to Apple, of course, the whole sort of like iOS 18 is going to be, an open AI collaboration series, going to be very different. I mean, bring it. I'm excited, but I
Yeah.
don't know. Like, I don't know how that affects my daily life.
Mm.
And
I
maybe, I'm just a little just set in my ways. I don't know, Eileen. Like, are there things that you want to see from this that you think would be helpful to you?
Yeah, I mean, I'd like for video editing to be a lot faster for me.
So there's
I'd
that.
like it I'd like it to be intuitive. I mean, it's kind of getting there. Like for instance, even when we we record this show on StreamYard, and I noticed that there was a section to create shorts out of our, hour-long show.
Yeah.
And I clicked it, and it's okay. I don't like the way it looks. It just puts our two faces scrunched, in the middle of a 9x16, right? So, oh geez, why am I getting hearts? Of a 9x16. So
You're
the
just
way
so
it
beloved.
the way it looks, I don't love, but the sound bites that they're chunking out are getting better. I do it every week now just to see what the AI pulls out is what they think is important. The first time I did it in one of our earlier episodes, it pulled out your conversation about the Natalie Portman ballerina and you sharing the same name. I'm like, really? Out of our whole tech conversation, that's
all
the
of
thing.
that. Again,
that was the one thing.
I'm
But
being marginalized. Okay.
Last week with Scott Johnson, it pulled out some really good, interesting moments that I actually went back into our timeline to create a social post because I wanted it to look better than the way they did. So it gave me like a moment where, oh, great, you picked out a good bite. I'll find it myself and put it together. So I would love for it to just look better too. Fill the screen, make it a 9x16 look versus the square look, but stuff like that, make it more efficient. I guess I would love for it to help me with languages and my language learning efforts. And I think it's getting there. I mean, ultimately, it will be to me sort of, you don't even have to learn the language. You could just talk into a recorder and then it'll just automatically spit out in real time, what you want to say in the other person's language. I mean, that's the Star Trek model, right? Like, I would love for that to happen.
I mean,
like
we have
in real
gotten,
time.
I have a few friends who I've met, on travels or, on vacation or whatever. And I mean, they just simply do not speak English. And I don't speak, their language. And, we can, it's clunky, but it's like we can hang out all day and talk to each other. It's clunky though. For something to be a little bit more of, like, you're talking about like that Star Trek, like just seamless, like doesn't really matter. You speak your language, they'll hear it. It's fine.
I mean,
that's cool.
What I wouldn't want is to lose that like sense of you should learn the other language if you have time, like if you can learn it, if you have some, we don't have time, we're all busy, but if you have time, just relying on that is not as good as actually learning it and the culture and everything behind the meaning of it, so hopefully
there's so much
that art isn't lost.
context to, I mean, for example, I think I said this on the show or some other show. Like, I mean, I love French. I'm a Francophile. I am.
Whee!
I love French. I, at one point, because I was I was going to France for work somewhat often. I had some friends in France, like they spoke French, and I never studied French in school. I studied Spanish, because I grew up in California. But I was really, really into it. And going back to the point of like, is it better to just have a tool to like help you just talk to the person? It's like, no, the more fun version is learning the language. Like learning French to me is the most fun thing ever. If I could just do that full time, I would, but I can't, it. And so, technology does come in handy in these situations.
So those are like probably the most simplest, ideas that I think could help me personally, but I know that there are other applications for AI. Oh, storyboarding is great too. Like I've seen because I can't draw. And so I've seen applications with AI that will allow you to create like the pencil storyboard just by typing in, sketches. And I'm like, oh, that's so great. You could just type in some words, it'll create these sketches that mimic what an artist could do. And that's only something for me who cannot draw and I cannot hire someone to draw it, right? Like it's
Yeah.
of course I
Yeah.
want to hire an artist that could do this because an artist should get paid for something like that. But in the case of like, it's just me, and boy, I will draw horrible stick figures to show somebody walking up a stair or driving a car. Like, I'd rather than use AI to create these storyboards for me, right? I think that I've seen that, which is really cool. Again, these are all creative applications, but I'm probably not thinking about some of the more, you know, applications that are important to like save people's lives. Like what are the medical applications? What, you know what I mean? Like what are some things that like, will it create molds faster for, I don't know, dental care, or I don't know, just stuff that could be more precise in your everyday
Yeah.
living.
Yeah. um Even though yes, I think that Apple wants very much to be the company that is going to revolutionize, you know, what you wear in your wrist,
Mm-hmm.
and how your doctor is going to know more about what, they might have to look for in order to keep you super healthy. All that stuff is very it's great. It's fine. It's
Yeah.
like, of course, yes, Apple, like, thank you for, keeping us all alive. Um but but some of the Apple Vision I almost said show. Apple Vision Pro stuff, I mean, that in the medical sector is really sticking.
Mm-hmm.
Not that the Vision Pro is the only VR headset that could help a medical
Yeah.
professional, but you are hearing more and more about that, and that is very interesting to me. Not only because people are like, "Well, who's this for? It's so expensive." It's like, well, it might be for hospitals. I
Yeah.
mean, of course, there's more to it, but like, even if that's all it was for, and a surgeon saving someone's life is like, that was helpful. I'm like, great, this is
Exactly.
great.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, how does it make us better? How do all these tools make us better as a people? You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Um, and eventually, like there's a lot of, well, it's expensive. I mean, not AI and chat GPT, but the tools, I guess, like the Vision Pro. A lot of this stuff is expensive now, but they'll come down in price when, future versions are made and more people want to use them and the demand is there. So it's just, I think it's the beginning. But yeah, I'm really excited about AI uses, but I don't even think I've really thought even way long term, like what that could mean, for like our people who come after us, like what are they going to be using it for and how is it really going to help them? And hopefully in good ways, because
I
there's
mean,
definitely,
it
yeah.
does feel to me, and I know, this is me aging myself, but like back in I used to, when I was like, I'm not even talking like college,
Yeah.
like grade school math. Like I
Yeah.
loved math. And like some
Mhm.
people were like kind of not good at math. Like their
Mm.
brains just didn't work in a math related way. And I'm like, oh, see, I get it. It's so easy. So I thought I was like super cool. And then, you get to algebra and it's like, okay, you need like a TI calculator type
Mhm.
thing. And I remember being like, well, hold on a second. That's going to like marginalize me because I was like always the smart one. But now we all
Yeah.
have the same tool. So like the kids who like aren't good at math are going to be as good as I am. Now, I mean, had to let that one go. We've all got these tools now, but it is sort of it's that conversation of like, well, is it like, are we supposed to let people who are either like gifted, we're just like more into something, be better at that something than, AI could afford everyone else? And I think the answer is no. I think
Right.
it's, it's you all have the tools. Let's level the playing field. And then if you're
Mhm.
like so good at something, then you'll figure it out.
Yeah, I think, if you're so good at something, you will level up because you
Yeah.
would, you know what I mean? You are going to already be thinking like, oh, well, that's basic, but I'm already here. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I don't know. Everybody wants to be so competitive, but really we should just, it's probably better too. You don't have to teach someone, you know, they'll catch up and it's less time discussing, well, this is how
Right.
you do it.
Yeah.
How many times
Well,
have
and
you have
like
to teach them
it's
again and
like
again?
there's always a naysayer for everything. Like, for this example, someone would be like, well, so like what are the teachers going to do? They're out of
Mhm.
jobs now because of AI. It's like, I don't think we have
No.
any situation where
Yeah.
teachers have been fired because of AI.
Yeah. I think
It's
there's
more of like it's like a lesson learning tool.
yeah,
It's not replacing people.
right. You still need the human touch. You still need
Yeah.
the sort of human care. You need the information maybe, spit out faster, but then there's like you said earlier, there's so much context involved with any piece of information that if you don't have a human guiding, I really don't think that, that's enough. Plus, you know, there's behaviors you have to kind of, take into account of in a class situation. Is
Totally. Yeah.
who's cheating? AI is not necessarily going to find out who's cheating, like, and or maybe they will. I don't know. Maybe it'll be like sensors on everybody. Who knows?
I
But
mean,
anyway,
again, not to date myself, but I don't think anyone thinks I'm in middle school right now. Um, I happen to live next to several middle schools. Like I'm sort of surrounded by middle schools, which is great. But what it means is in the morning when I'm walking Otis the dog, a lot of kids are going to their various schools, and I
mhm.
swear, like every kid has a phone. You
Mm.
know, like to the point where because sometimes kids are a little unnerved by Otis, the dog, because
Ah,
they're like, like they
yeah,
don't like dogs or whatever. But like
yeah.
I can see them coming toward me and I'm like, look up, look up, look up, kid, look up, kid. And then they finally like almost run into us and we're like, oh my gosh, wow,
Oh no.
woman and dog. And I'm like, well, you were on your phone for like $2. Um, I did not have the luxury of
Yeah,
doing that at that
same.
age because there weren't, you know,
Yeah,
there just weren't those options.
yeah,
It's not better or worse. It just sometimes makes me laugh, where like kids are like,
yeah.
the heck is wrong with you? And I'm like, what is wrong with you? you
You
gotta
weren't
look up
looking.
and see the world around you, or you're gonna get hit by a car.
I mean, as long as Otis isn't spooked, he wasn't spooked. Yeah, he just kind of
Nah,
goes,
he didn't care. No.
he's like, oh, there's just another person who's not looking my
He has
way.
no interest in kids, in general. He's sort of like some kid on their phone, like, I don't care. No, it's more of like he, well, Otis has his own quirks. If somebody, like, is limping or,
Oh,
maybe, like, using a cane or otherwise, like, doing something that isn't, like, very obvious, just human walking, he'll
mhm.
be like, "Hmm." Something's up,
Something's up with
and
you.
look at me
Yeah.
like, "What's up?" I'm like, "Leave them alone. They're using a cane," And he's like, "I don't know
Looks like
about
a
that."
weapon. Looks like a weapon, mom.
Yeah,
I don't
I
know.
think he's worried that they'll do something erratic.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
always been that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, anyway.
Well, we had a lot of news last week about Microsoft.
We
Speaking of which,
did.
and just we had Scott on last week, and that was great talking about. I still don't know. Did he get his iPad? Do you know? We need to
I
find out.
don't.
I haven't heard an
He's going to
update.
be on Daily Tech News Show tomorrow.
Ooh, okay.
I feel like I'm up to date with him on Threads. I think if he had gotten it, I would have heard about it. But yes.
Wow.
So
See, yeah.
he was our guest last week. It was a really good episode, by the way,
Mhm.
for anybody who needs to catch up. But yeah, we didn't talk about Microsoft announcements in any capacity just because we had other stuff to talk about.
Yeah.
However, we're kind of getting into this, and maybe this is a little like pre WWDC kind of stuff that's going on, but we're getting these think pieces like the M4 iPad Pro versus the Microsoft Surface Pro.
Yeah.
How do they stack up? Now,
Yep.
if you kind of look at the two, and I mean, here's the thing, Eileen, and this is just me, but if I have disposable income to buy one of these, it's not really a specs thing for me. It's like, well, I'll buy the, the iPad Pro because it's just going to be so much easier for me to like and bring it into my life.
Integrate it.
I'm on a Mac Mini right now as we're doing this episode. I've got my iPad or iMac, MacBook Air, which is like my ride or die. I've got, various stuff. If I were to say like, you know what, Surface Pro looks pretty good. Great. I'm going to buy that for roughly around the same amount of money. Also cool. I mean, you can rock different ecosystems in your house, but that makes my life harder.
Yeah, it really does, because the seamlessness of having to be in one ecosystem, it just, pre-show I was talking about my AirPod Max and how I can just put it on my head, connects immediately to my MacBook Pro, and the minute that I pick up my phone and I'm like, you know what, let me watch something on here, the audio transfers directly to my phone. I don't have to do anything. It just knows. And I'm like, that makes me so happy. And you know what? If I was a Windows user and, I have this, that, and the other, it will probably work better if I only have Windows products, right? So there is something to be said about, it's not like, I don't know, I don't want to say like we're pledging our world and our lives to only one ecosystem, but it's just because it works. Like, why rock the boat? I mean, I guess if you're really into just, tinkering, and there are people out there that don't want to just belong to one ecosystem. That's cool. I just don't, I'm too lazy for that. And I need it to just work. I don't know if there's ever a world where I would just switch operating systems because of work per se. There could be, I don't know why. But if so, then, I'll deal with it then. But I would like everything to just kind of work. Now, I don't have Apple monitors. I have LG and a Dell working with my stuff, but there are some accessories.
I've got an Asus monitor that I've been using for years. It's a lovely monitor, but it's not like the cool Apple monitor.
Yeah.
But I'm like, see, I don't really care about that.
Yeah, the accessories.
I care about like the guts.
Exactly. Like, I'm actually finally thinking about getting a third-party keyboard for my iPad Pro, my 11, and I am probably just gonna find. I think I found it on Amazon. It's got a good deal, but it's not the Magic Keyboard. I don't want to shell out $250 for that when I can get one for $60, and you just check out the reviews and stuff, and it may not work as seamless. But there are just some accessories that I'm like, I think I'll pass, and see where this goes. But for the most part, the laptop, the phone, and even the headphones, I think that's important, because I do like to listen to things without blasting it for Tom to hear. Some of those things are like, those are deal breakers. Like, they have to be in the same ecosystem. I would say the watch too. I know, we have an email later that we'll get to, but I feel like having the Apple Watch versus having a different watch not in the Apple ecosystem, I think that's another one. If you want a watch that you that should be connected, I guess, in a more seamless way, if you really want it to work, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, so I think I told y'all about the situation where I lost my AirPods Pro.
Yes, yes, that was a great,
And
I mean,
yeah,
sadly a great story, but yes.
yeah. I mean, it, sucked for me, good story for everybody else. A good cautionary tale, as it were. But I uh, you know, I got to the point where I was like, okay, I do see them on a map and it's just weird. Like I'm not gonna like go into this apartment building and like knock on, like I'm not doing that.
Hello,
And they're
hello.
obviously not you know, trying to like bring them back to me. Not that they were stealing them, but
Mm,
maybe they just didn't know who I was, or it was all very strange because it was like 2 blocks away, or I'm like, oh hi. Hi, iPad Pros. But anyway, I decided to get another pair. But when I was deciding that, I was like, all right, well, I used to have the Jabras, and I loved them. And, that works perfectly well with all things Apple.
yeah.
It's Bluetooth. So
Yeah.
anything that's Bluetooth enabled, can do its thing. But there is something about just the way that Apple makes it feel so comfy, where it's like
Mm,
Apple product with other Apple product. Yes, let's walk you through it and let's handhold you at the same time. Where other companies are sort of like, it's Bluetooth. I don't know. I mean, make it work. So I ended up getting more more of the AirPod Pros because I'm just like, I like them and it's
yeah,
easy. And
exactly.
they're certainly not the cheapest option, but
No,
not
yeah.
also the most expensive option at this point.
Mm,
So yeah,
yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
I know that talking about Apple is like talking about a luxury type of car. Like I get
yeah,
it. But there are times where you're like, it just makes sense to do this
yeah.
instead of like getting the other luxury brand, or even, something that, is more like affordable, but like won't work as well.
Right. You get what you pay for, right?
Yeah.
W Scottis one says, I have Apple products, but continue to use Windows on my desktop machines, not necessarily by choice, but because I have to. Gaming. So yeah, there's a lot of PC gaming out there that like it's just better. And
Yeah.
that's where
Yeah.
everybody is. And if that is like whether it's your hobby or your job, like that's where it's at, everybody. So then you do switch back and forth. So that's what I mean. There are definite cases where you're like, well, no, I'm the gaming on PC. That's what I do, you know? So, yeah, but in a perfect world, like if you're just sort of the average consumer, I would wager to guess it's just easier for everyone for something to just everything work, everything click, everything work at the same time. But again, it's a personal choice. There's price factors. Maybe you don't need the premium,
Yeah.
feel, and that's okay too. But it is
Totally.
really dang cool when it all works, though. That's all I'm
Well,
saying.
and W Scott is one who's in our chat. First of all, said I didn't have a phone until I was 13 or 14. Where I'm like, okay,
Much
okay,
younger than us.
yep, yep, yep. I actually, Eileen, I don't know we've ever talked about this. This is not really Apple related, but when I went to college, my dad was like, I'm worried. You need a
Oh,
phone, like a car phone. I was like, a car phone?
whoa, car
Right?
phone.
Yeah,
Okay.
like what what
Why?
like and he said, "All right, I'm going to get you like this Motorola there were like two cell phones on the market at this point.
Mhm.
This is like 1994?
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry, dating myself. Everyone knows how old I am now. But yeah, he was like, "Yeah, you need a phone." So I had this Motorola, like a big flip phone, looked like a car phone, just not something that needed to be in a car anymore. And like in college, like people were like, who the heck do you think you are? And I'm like, I'm sorry, my dad just is worried about me.
Oh my
Like,
God.
I was like, I'm not even trying to be cool. Like, this is not a flex.
Well, but did they look at you differently? Like, did
They
they
thought that
treat
I was
you
trying to be
differently?
fancy.
Okay. Yeah.
That's what I took from it, or or maybe I was like selling drugs or something, neither of which was true. Like, not fancy, not selling drugs, but do have a phone, where people are like, wow, that's like a pretty fancy thing.
It really, like, at that time was a status thing. It feels, like people looked at it as a status thing.
Yeah.
So they're looking at you like, who is this
Like,
rich
what are
girl?
you calling? And I'm like, my dad.
I don't have any.
He's like worried about me. He thinks I'm gonna like fall into the ocean if he doesn't like call me every day. Kind of thing.
Did you like try and hide the fact that you had that, like, just so that nobody bothers you, or did you just break it out like, well, I got one. Who cares if you don't like it? What did you feel like?
Well,
You shouldn't show it.
What's funny about this is at the time, I mean, first of all, these were not smartphones. These were literally telephones. So it was like, okay, I can call my parents, and like maybe there was like one other person I knew who like I could call, but like there was nothing really to like do on the phone. It wasn't like none of my college friends had them. So it was like, oh, I have a mobile number, that isn't like, a landline number that you would have at your house. But like, I still had that at the time. Like, all my friends would just like leave me messages on my answering machine at my apartment that I lived in when I was in college. Like the cell phone thing, like it didn't really make sense for a while until everyone else started to be like, oh, okay, well, we have phones too. So let's all exchange numbers. And I mean, here we are to this day.
CS Pawn says mob wife vibes.
Mob wife. Thank you. That is a compliment, in my opinion.
Oh my God. I mean, yeah. I don't know if my parents did that to me and gave me a phone. I don't know. I would feel a little bit like I don't want anybody to know. I'm afraid of being labeled,
Well, yeah.
But maybe I was just more insecure.
There was
I could just be more like at back in the day, maybe I'm just more insecure than you were back in the day. And so I would be like, oh, let's just let me just do this when my roommate is not here, or maybe my roommate knows, but like it only lives in my dorm room because I'm afraid of it. I don't know. Anyway, well, I guess the whole point was to carry it in case you had emergency, right? So at some point, it's just going to reveal itself.
That was definitely how it started, how it's going. That's definitely how it started. My dad being like, I'm worried and I want you to have a phone on you at all times. Here, take this, call me every 5 seconds, where I'm like, oh, God. But it's funny when the first iPhone was announced. This would have been 2007, if I'm not mistaken. I had a BlackBerry Pearl, tiny little thing. It's still around here somewhere. I would never get rid of that.
Okay.
Yeah. It's anyway, I don't have it at the ready, but I was like, I don't want that weird thing with a big screen. Like, I don't need that. I love my BlackBerry. And people were like, you're gonna love the iPhone. And I was like, no, not for me. I like what I like, which is it's kind of funny because it's like, to go from the sort of like, dad gives you cell phone because safety, and you're a young woman, going, trying to figure out life. And then like, it's like, and then there's the Nokia era, where
Mhm.
pretty much everybody who has a phone, not everybody did, but like if you did, you know, you kind of you've got that whole tippy tap thing going on. And you know, and then you have like the you know, sort of like celeb flip
Oh yeah.
phone stuff.
Mhm.
Eh, but then yeah, like when the iPhone was first announced, I was like, I don't want that.
It looks
I
weird,
didn't.
right? With the
Yeah,
big
like I
old
was just like
screen and
I
those
just
like
like I don't need it. It does
yeah.
look cool. I'm not like saying that it wasn't cool, but I
Yeah.
was like, no, I have a phone. I you know, my life is going quite well. Which I think is you know, like a lot of people being like, why would you want a cell phone? If you want a mobile phone and you just like put it in your backpack and go to school with it, like that's so weird, Sarah. It's all kind of relative, right? You know,
Yeah.
it's like what do you need? In even our AI conversation
Yeah.
that we're having about what, you know, WWDC is going to unveil. It's like, what do you need?
Yeah.
You know, some of the stuff is probably going to be pretty cool.
Yeah.
I hope so anyway. But like what do you need? And I don't know what I need. It's like I need someone to sit me down and be like, here's how your life gets better. Because
Yeah.
I don't see it yet really with
Yeah.
anything AI.
I just don't think I mean, unless you're way into AI right now and you're just kind of like really forward thinking, I don't think it's really that obvious because it's sort of one of those like, well, technology has advanced so much already. We've got it good. We've got it better than the last generation, right? In terms of technology. So it hasn't been presented yet. I feel like there is
Mm.
probably some visionaire. I'm going to use that. There's a visionaire out there that already has all the answers, but you could go and, you know, find that person, get spoiled. I'm happy to just kind of like keep going and see where it, you know, it takes me. And whatever happens, happens. And hopefully, this announcement in 2 weeks is just going to blow our minds. We're just going to be like, wow.
Knock our
And
socks off.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then, but you know, there is an article out there that's saying that like it might just be a beta preview and that Apple might still be playing catch up. I'm like, will you be disappointed if it's a beta preview, Sarah, versus
I
like it
mean,
being like full on, this is the AI from Apple? Like, I don't know.
well, first of all, whether it is a full-fledged launch or a beta preview, I mean, Apple is great at spinning both of those things as the best thing you've ever seen in your life.
That's true. That's very true. Yeah.
You know, so like I don't know. I mean, if there is if we're in a beta situation, I don't really care. I mean, I'm in the
Yeah.
beta program for iOS and Mac OS. Like I'm like, yeah,
Yeah.
you know, use me as a guinea pig. It's fine. I get
Mhm.
it. You know, if things are a little wonky, I get it. Early adopter.
Mhm.
So I don't really care about that. Maybe some people would, but but yeah.
I think
I
some
don't
people
know.
are
Like,
thinking,
yeah, I can't, like, find a way to get, like, up in arms about that.
right, as a consumer, you're like, "Okay, fine, so it's a beta preview and they're still working on it." I think in the industry, it's sort of people are trying to point fingers like, "Well, that means that they're just not ready and they're still playing catch up."
Well,
And
and
I'm like,
maybe
"But"
that's true. And
and
maybe that's true. Yeah.
yeah, and even if it is though, what does it matter if it's gonna work eventually? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
why rush to make something half-baked and present something that people are just gonna be like, "What? That's it?" Because they probably, you know, like every other company has a vision of how they want it to work. And, like, Apple probably has something that's extremely I don't know, it's reaching the stratosphere of what anybody can think of, and they probably want to get to as close as that. And if it's not there yet, then they're going to just be like, okay, it's a preview, because you don't want me, who's expecting so much, to, you know, be disappointed.
Yeah. I mean, I you know, if you're in development, maybe beta stuff means something different to you. As
Yeah.
a consumer who, you know, I mean, I know a little bit about development, but like I am not a developer myself.
Mhm.
I appreciate any company. I'm not even talking about Apple right now, but any company saying, "Hey, here's what we're doing. We want you to, everybody like let's test this, have some fun with it, feedback, and then we're going to figure out how to make this product the best product possible." If Apple were to, again, at in June at WWDC to say like, yeah, so iOS 18 is in beta, and here are all the like fun things that we're testing. I could see some people being like, oh, so you just like weren't ready, and
Mhm.
maybe that's true, but like I would prefer that before
Yeah.
a half-baked something or other that has to be walked back when it doesn't work properly.
Right, exactly. Then everybody would be like, "Well, this is a disaster," right? Puppy Kitty Trout in our chat says, "Catch up, haha. They are slowly introducing logical AI features in a logical fashion." I mean, we have yet to see that. Hopefully, that's happening. So,
Well,
I'm gonna
and
try
and
and temper
and
my
and I
expectations.
think that's the point that Eileen and I are
Yeah,
trying to make, at least at this
exactly. Oh
point, is
yeah,
like it's not about catching up. It's about rolling out features that work in a time frame that also works for the company. I don't fault any company for doing things that way.
yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think it's just smarter to go out with something that's strong. And if they're, I mean, of course, I want something to just blow my mind. But you know what? If they attempt to do something that blows my mind and it doesn't work, then they're going to lose people, right? They're going to be like, oh, what a piece of crap that was. And you don't want
Yeah.
that. You don't want that kind of negative fodder, running around, or that narrative running around in the press. So, yeah, I mean, we have yet to see. I'm excited, but yeah. We'll
I
see.
I mean, again, I will eat crow in a couple of weeks if I'm wrong, but I really think this is going to be a big announcement, and that's why I think that the iPad announcement in early May was cool but
Yeah,
subdued.
yeah.
Where we didn't really hear anything, like there was no AI anything,
Hmm.
but the rumors continue. I think, I don't know. I guess I'm expecting not necessarily greatness, but I'm expecting something fairly dramatic.
Okay,
That's where I am at this point.
we are going to get hopefully, Sarah, you get your drama from this. Tim Cook better come out with his best acting chops.
Yeah,
And
Tim Cook. I mean, he's known for being such a drama queen, right?
Hey, really quick before we leave AI conversation, there was something that I found on Twitter about potentially Apple may introduce AI generated emojis. And I thought that was
Yeah.
kind of fun because, and then I was trying to think about like what, um, there have been times where I'm like, oh, I want to put this emoji, but oh, I have to settle with ramen, even though I was thinking about this kind of noodle, or I was thinking about this cocktail, but I'll just have the martini glass. You know what I mean? Like, what if you could just make that emoji through AI? I don't know. Maybe it's not important to some people, but I actually thought this was kind of cool because I don't know how many times I'm not like a super emoji person, and there's so many things you could do now, stickers and all that stuff. But there have been times. And so instead of, waiting for
Mhm.
the next round of emojis, like what did they add? Like remember when they finally added the taco? I was like, oh, thank God. Like, come on, we all eat tacos. And maybe it sounds really silly and frivolous, but hey, if you could generate your own emoji, because there's stuff that's missing in my mind, wouldn't that be cool? I don't know.
Yeah, the emoji thing, I was definitely like, I mean, it wasn't that I was late to the emoji game.
Mm.
Lots of hearts, lots of, laughing, crying face, type stuff. But I mean, I definitely had a lot of people that I was texting mostly who were like so into emojis, and even to the point where on iOS it took me a while for like for example, if I said like, "Hey Eileen, I'll see you at 1," and I get like a thumbs up from you, like the tap back thumbs
Yeah.
up, I'd be like, "Oh, she couldn't say okay."
That really? That's not good enough? Oh, wow.
Well, but that
Okay.
was like years ago. Like,
Okay.
because at first I was like, this is so like, these are like stupid tools. And then after a while, I was like, you know what? No, these are just tools that people are using. And, for you to be like, thumbs up means like, got your message, all good.
Yeah.
Maybe you're like, taking a shower or making dinner or like
Yeah.
doing something where you're otherwise kind of indisposed. Who knows? And yeah, so the whole emoji thing I've really come around to. I
Okay.
find it very adorable. And sometimes, yeah, like I'll be like, hey, friend of mine that I'm texting, do you want to get like ramen tonight? And I'm like, RAM. Oh yeah. Oh, good noodles. Yeah. So, it's just a little icing on the cake type
Right.
thing. So again, the idea that AI could make emoji that much more interesting, that sounds fun. If somebody doesn't also have the emoji, I think it could be like somewhat confusing, right? Because
Yeah.
like if I send you like the noodle bowl, you're like, yeah, I got it. Like
Yeah.
you can send it back to me. But like
Yeah.
if you're like, what is that? I don't know what that is. Maybe it's like
Yeah.
another language.
Well, like for instance, there's the one single red rose. Red
Yeah.
rose
Yeah.
is a very passionate flower. And if you're
Sure.
just sending it to a friend, you might want to send the yellow rose. Now, I know there's a bouquet of
Right.
pink
Where
and
you're like,
yellow,
I'm not
but
asking you to marry me, but I
I
just
just
want
want
to
to
show
send
you
you
the
the one. I like the option, you know what I mean? And like
yeah.
I'm just in here looking like, okay, let me look at alcohol. Like, yeah, there's many options already, like champagne and
There's
beer
a
and
beer. Yeah.
wine. There's a couple
Uh-huh.
beers. Oh, but there's only really one cocktail. Am I wrong here? Is the martini and then like the Mai Tai. Like there's where's the Cosmo? Like where's I'm just trying to
Right,
think of
like,
some
when am I gonna send somebody the Mai Tai? I mean,
I guess that's like, hey,
if I'm like, "Hey, 2 tickets to Hawaii." But I'm like, "Sorry,
oh,
friends, don't have that."
also there's only brown liquor, right? There's only the whiskey. Like some people drink
Yeah.
gin and vodka,
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
just saying, like, what if you can get those even more precise emojis? Maybe I'm the only one super excited about this, but hey, if it could create like, oh, instead of the blue dress, I can have like the yellow dress. I don't know, whatever's missing. I just think
Yeah.
it's kind of cool. And then you don't have to wait for the official emoji people to make it and put it in your emoji tray. This is I'll be, you know what? If they introduce that, I'm gonna be so into this, Sarah. You're gonna see like personal emoji, AI generated emojis, and then you're gonna be like, oh my God, Eileen, stop. But I'm gonna be so excited.
I mean, yeah. It's I mean, AI generated all sorts of things are definitely something that I'm enjoying on TikTok, for example. You know, I mean, there are certain videos, I guess photos, yeah, but more videos because, TikTok, where I'm like, oh, I totally get that a human didn't make this, but I love it. There was
It's
one where
fun.
like a golden retriever was wearing like angel wings, and I was
Oh,
just like,
okay.
perfect, love it. I don't care that this isn't real. I do not care.
Well, it's just like, I don't know, it's a different kind of like animation in a way,
Yeah, yeah.
you're just adding it to a more lifelike being. There's nothing wrong with that. I don't know. I just love this kind of stuff. So we'll see. We'll see where this goes and when if this is part of the keynote, I'm gonna laugh because I'll be like, Remember when I said emojis is cool?
Mark our words, everyone. Eileen is predicting, and if she gets it right, you all owe her money.
Ooh, that would be great. Yeah, thanks. I'll open the Patreon just for that.
Yeah, like how can I like get money by seeing things? Yeah, that would be nice. All right. Well, should we take a little break?
Let's do it. Oh, I guess I should play the thing, huh? Hold on.
You don't have to.
No, I think we're good.
I'm doing it in my head.
Yeah. Maybe what I'll do is I'll do this. That way I know it on,
Got it.
On a video.
Okay. So as we're coming back from the break, and thanks to everybody for being with Apple Vision Show, as we continue on. So Jack Antonoff, who's a music producer, he's a musician, but a well-known music producer, had a funny thing that he shared on X recently, and I'm going to repeat it to you now. He said, I spent about 10 minutes in there, and I think it's effed. Something up with me because it's been hard to shake. I FaceTime my band and family this, and they all yelled and screamed, and I shouted back, I hate it in here. And then they shouted, they hated me being in there. And so I'm hoping I can return this because not only do I want my money back, I want my spirit back. Okay. So this was accompanied by a picture of, sort of like half his face and then a picture of the Vision Pro goggles. I think he was being funny.
Okay.
I think that was the point of this. But also, I think that VR, AR, augmented anything can be pretty disruptive, to you, depending on what you're doing. I mean, literally, I could, I'm looking over here because that's where the Vision Pro is, but like I could do this show with you wearing the Vision Pro. It would be strange and kind of like, what's the point? But I could do it, and access the computer and, everything. But I think that, and I felt this way with the Meta Quest when it was called the Oculus Quest. That's how old I am. But, at the beginning I was like, oh, this is so fun, but like also pretty weird. And so I think that's what he's going for here is like, it's weird. And like, everyone thinks you're crazy, but maybe crazy and smart.
Yeah, this is the opposite of the T-Pain response, right? T-Pain was all about it. T-Pain was like, this is the future, y'all.
Love it.
If you don't want to join the train, you're going to be left out. That's T-Pain, right?
Taylor Swift's music producer is like, I don't know about all this. My family is concerned for me.
Like, these are just the different, responses. I added it because obviously, he's your typical celebrity / influencer, whatever. And like, what he says, some people are going to talk about, but it is just sort of like interesting that there are, creative folks. Maybe you know what? I would bet that he did not like that Apple ad. I'm going to guess that he did not like it.
I would also guess that. Although, if you're a modern day music producer, you probably, I don't know. I do not know Mr. Antonoff. So, maybe he, his house is full of pianos and whatever. But like, I would think that as a modern day producer, you're more, excited about the tools that companies like Apple are giving you, you know, creativity tools, creation tools, which we talked with Scott Johnson about at length last week, which is really, really cool. It's just that not everybody is going to be like, oh yeah, I'm a creator. I'm going to like make a new album. I mean, we can't all be that person.
Right.
So, the whole sort of like a creator saying like, I don't like this or that was scary. I think he was kidding. But if he wasn't kidding, I mean, he wouldn't be alone. A lot of people are,
Yeah.
Again, it like kind of goes back to like the AI conversation we've been
Yeah.
having for this whole show is like, you don't
What do you-
have to use these tools. You're
Yeah.
not required to.
Right.
They might be great for you, or they might just be out of your reach.
Yeah. It just might be extra steps that you don't need, or
Yeah.
you know what?
Or
If
just
you,
something that like just doesn't like vibe with you, also
yeah,
fine. I mean,
100%.
I mean, people still have, pen and paper. I don't know where any of those are in my house, but like it's fine.
You know, I
What you want to send me a note? You can write it down on pen and paper and put it through my mailbox.
there is something to be said about the retro, right? And
Yeah.
we've roundabout talked about this multiple times on our shows, but the retro feeling is hip. Anything retro is what is cool, and we shouldn't be diving in too much into technology. But so you could be in that camp, or you could be all the way in for AI and moving forward. But one retro thing that I keep seeing are like iPhone wallpapers that are all like retro. Like, oh, you could do iPhone wall, and people love these where they're you can make your iPhone wallpaper look like the old Game Boys and stuff like that. I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool. I started
I
saving
see.
all that
Yeah.
stuff. Because I'm like, wow, that's retro for me, but kids that didn't grow up at that time just think it's cool, like, let me see if I could share one right now. But like, what if your screen looked a little bit, like a Game Boy or something like that? Isn't that cool?
Oh,
Like,
yeah. For
I'm sorry.
anybody who's listening on audio, this is very much like it's like Game Boy, but like with the guts of the hardware also showing. Yeah, that's adorable. I love that.
Right. The stuff like this, I'm like, people are, want to go back. They want to go back and feel that time, I guess. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to download one of these. I'm going to try. This is pretty cool. So,
Yeah.
so anyway, back when you said pen and paper, I'm like, oh well, let me come back a bit. Like, let me show the Game Boys that everybody's putting on their iPhones, on their home screen.
I mean, not to belabor the fact that I am not a teenager anymore, Eileen, but again, because I've got all these schools around me, so you see a lot of kids doing their
Yeah.
thing,
Yeah.
walking here to and fro and whatever. And it's so funny when so when I was in high school, it was like the grunge era of rock and roll, Pearl Jam, Nirvana, and et cetera, et cetera. And not that meant that we had to like wear anything specifically, but it was like, just big things. Pants are big, sweatshirts very large. And at some point, I don't know why, for girls and boys, and I guess young men and women, it started to become like, oh, you wear like, fitted things, things that are like tailored to your body, so other people can see that, blah, blah, blah. And now, all the kids are like, they're back wearing like the big stuff,
Baggy.
like they're like, you can tell that it's like, it's just, it's coming back around.
It is.
Like pretty girl being like, I'm just wearing like my boyfriend's really large sweatshirt.
Yeah, I mean, there's a whole like
yeah, girl, I get it. I do. So cute.
I've been there. No, like
Yeah, I've
literally
been
the
there.
Y2K movement, you know, the 90s or the Y2K movement. That's a big thing with the young folks these days. Maybe actually that's actually moved on. Maybe there's something else, but you know, it's all kind of related, right? So retro is in, you know, all this stuff that like, wow, I don't own any of my neon shorts. Where happened to all that
I
stuff
used
that
to
like
have
people
neon
are?
shorts.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I wore those to high school. Yeah.
I was in a like a school picture wearing like bright green neon shorts. Where like
Mhm.
I'm like I knew it was picture day and I still did that. And now everyone is going to see that, you know. Look at that photo. Yeah,
Oh
yeah,
man, you
yeah.
know, whatever. Hey, I'm appreciative that the stuff that we thought was cool back then is now cool again, and it's like, wait, we were not off. We were, you know.
Totally. Well, so Jack Antonoff, music producer who had apparently a tough time with the Apple Vision Pro. You're not alone, my man.
Not alone.
But yeah, you know, you gotta know what it's good for, and then use it for what it's good for.
Yeah.
That's the takeaway. Eileen, as we're wrapping up the show here, we did get a real nice email from one of our fans.
Mhm.
Thank you, Bede Skinner Vanel, I believe your name is, and I'm sorry if I butchered that. Who had some thoughts on our discussion about the iPad running macOS.
Yeah.
Bede says, I graduated with a software engineering degree at the end of last year. I've always needed a touchscreen device to take notes. Yes, I've always needed one to take notes on, as well as a more laptop style device to do actual computing on. So you and I have something in common here, Bede. I've gone through various combinations of devices over my time studying the Surface Pro, the Surface Pro Go, and a Windows laptop, the 2018 iPad Pro and Windows laptop, the 2018 iPad Pro, and an M1 Pro MacBook Pro. It says, I've also recently bought an iPhone 15 Pro after years of resisting iPhones due to lack of USB-C. Welcome. It says, the Surface Pro is essentially the Windows version of this, but it falls behind the iPad in display quality, performance, and battery life. I'm sure the Surface Pro would be fine for most people, but as a tech enthusiast with no self-control, I couldn't stop myself from trying to find the perfect setup. Beat says also writes code, as we talked about earlier in the show, saying, I need a device with a desktop operating system, although even my MacBook Pro can't run some of the tools I need because they require an Intel CPU and they don't work with Rosetta. iPad OS has come a long way. And for some workflows, it's definitely all you need, but it doesn't do everything I need it to do.
Mhm.
You know, Beat goes on, Eileen, but I think
Yeah.
that I on and on in a great way. Please keep sending your thoughts to us.
Yes.
But I think this is striking a chord with what you and I and a lot of other people are also thinking.
Yeah. Like, what if the iPads get Mac OS? I mean, he just goes on and says that he would ditch his MacBook and iPad in a heartbeat to get one of the new iPads if it gets Mac OS. Like, I just don't know that that's going to happen, though. I really feel like they're two different ecosystems and they want to keep them separated because of the use cases per se. But, you know, and I think some of the MacBooks got dinged because they don't like in reviews because they didn't have touch. Um, I don't know that I need touch with my MacBook Pro, but this is one of those things again where I don't have it, right? So it's like, what would I
Yeah.
what would I need it for? I have my mouse, I have my trackpad. But I, you know, like for people who want to draw, There might be some use cases, or even me with editing, like, oh, if I had a pencil and I was get it more precise
I mean,
than my
and
my mouse.
I don't draw. I mean, I
Mhm.
literally don't own a pen in my apartment. I mean, there probably is one somewhere, but like it's not something that I like use at all.
Yeah.
I'm very sort of like digital. Let's do
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
But as far as being able to tap the screen, like if I were able to tap the screen, I mean, how big is this monitor? I think it's 28 inches. It's not like that crazy big, but like
Yeah.
pretty big, you
Yeah.
know? Like if I could kind of like do like bup, 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 while we were doing the show or just throughout the day, I would want that. I would.
Mhm.
I would.
Mhm.
But Mac OS, besides the touch bar that didn't go over very well with anybody except me,
I liked it too,
I thought it
actually.
was cool.
I thought it was great. Anyway.
Yeah. I know.
To each their own.
It's just like it didn't resonate in the right way, which is, we don't represent all people.
Nope.
So, good example of me being like, I liked it. And people were like, it was awful. And it took real estate away from the keyboard. And I'm like,
What? No, but your whole keyboard was there. You just had that extra bar. I don't.
yeah.
Anyway.
Like, I'm like, I thought it was good. Like, oh, I want to like make my screen brighter. Burp, 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 burp. Like
Yeah.
it was like a fun little hybrid, like old school, but also new school. Anyway, yes. As we talked about on last week's show, a lot of people still wondering why iPad OS, because iPads, especially if you watched and were interested in their latest announcement, they being Apple, being like, okay, it's a laptop. Yeah, like it literally is. If you want it to be, it's a laptop, but it doesn't run Mac OS. It's iPad OS. So it's still, an iOS variant. It's not Mac OS. And, a lot of people rightly are still confused by why that is the case when we're being sold essentially a laptop that you would use as your like primary computer every day.
And also now with people I keep seeing people talking about how when you add the keyboard to your iPad, it feels like a laptop already. So then just give us the so
Right.
like it's heavy because all the talk about it being thin, once you add that magic keyboard and you just use that and it's heavy. It's like, okay, well, that's what a laptop is, right? So
Yeah.
I just said earlier, I'm like, I don't know if I need touch on my Mac, but it having the extra ability to do things will, I don't know, it's always nice to have that extra option. I may not use it all the time, but it is nice. I could just hit end stream with my finger instead of searching for my mouse that may have depleted in battery. Because that happens sometimes. I'm like, oh my God, no.
Yeah.
So, having all the options, I think is, to me, I always want all the options. I may not use it. That's why I'm having a hard time thinking.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm with you on that one. At the same time, and W Scott is one in our chat, reiterates what he said last week, that it's not so much that Mac OS should be on iPads, it's that iPad OS should be better.
Oh yeah, okay. I could go with that. Sure.
Yeah.
Whatever that means.
I'm down with that as well. Again, I don't use an iPad on a daily basis, so I feel like, Sarah entering the chat, not really necessary, because I don't really know what I'm talking about. But I mean, as far as iOS goes, and I know iPad OS is very, very similar to iOS, and for many years was exactly the same thing. I get that. I get it. Yeah. The other day, I don't know if this has happened to you recently, Eileen, but the other day somebody sent me a Google Drive file.
Okay.
something that was on Google Drive. Google Drive is an iOS app, easy to open on my phone, all good. But I had to download that file and then do something with it. And I could not figure it out. I was like, where does it go? Like, isn't there like a files and folders area of my phone? Like I have storage on my phone.
Yeah.
This file can live somewhere, but like I could not figure out where it goes, to the point where I was like, I need to pull out my laptop to do this like very, very simple task. And I really tried to do it on my
your
iPhone.
phone.
Because I was like, this is crazy. This will be good. This will be a good story for later, when Eileen and I, talk on the next show. And I was like, I don't get it. I don't know. I don't know where it's supposed to go.
Yeah.
And that's a strange thing with both iOS and iPadOS, where it doesn't have to act like, where you have like your Finder and your trash icon. And it's like, okay, we can reinvent the wheel a little bit, but you can't get to a point where someone like me, who's pretty well versed in this, has no idea of where to save a file to do something with it on a mobile device.
That's happened to me in the past. And, I've had to kind of, especially with my iPad, I'm downloading things from, Google Drive, and it doesn't always go to the device downloads. It might go to your iCloud, just depending on how you have that set up. Or, there have been times in the past where I forgot that I have sent everything to a particular folder on iCloud, and I'm looking for it. I'm searching for it. I'm like, what the hell? What did it? But like, it's not as simple as, when you download something, on your desktop, generally it goes to downloads, right? Generally, unless you have it pointing elsewhere. So I have definitely run into the same situation where I'm like, wait, where did it go? Like, I believe everything I've downloaded prior was going to my downloads on my iPad. I'm just talking about my iPad experience, and I still can't find it. I'm like, oh, let me just download it again. that is something that should be, a lot more seamless. But yeah, I will open up the Files app. I go into recent and all that good stuff, but sometimes you still can't find it.
The folks in our live chat are saying the same thing to me, like, open the Files app. It's all there. And
sometimes it's not, actually.
Sometimes it's not. And even if it is, it's just, it doesn't work for me.
You know what? And if it doesn't work for Sarah,
I don't know, again, going back like, to my Nokia days, I'm just like, it doesn't make sense to me. Mac OS makes plenty of sense to me. That's my jam. But yeah, your mileage may vary.
W. Scottis one says Documents by Readall is a great third-party files app for iOS, iPadOS. They use on occasion. So there you go.
That's good to know.
Yeah,
that's good to know.
Well, it's in there. These files are there. You just sometimes I have to retrieve it.
Yeah,
on my desktop.
So. I mean, so just for context, I had to download something from Google Drive that somebody sent me. Have that, and then upload that to 2 different places. One was Acast, one was Squarespace. Just, basically a podcast file. And I mean, I'm telling you, I couldn't do it. I could not do it. I tried, after a couple hours, I was like, I'm going to drive home and get my laptop because I am not going to let this day ruin me.
Wow.
But truly, I was like, I've tried everything. So yeah, if anyone has ever had that very specific experience, as I have, please let us know. I couldn't be more happy to know. how to use iOS better. But just a reminder, we have been talking about people giving us feedback, and we love your feedback. Feedback at Apple Vision Show is where to send an email. It can be long-winded, short-winded. We don't care. But if you've got a thought, send it our way. It'll make the show better. And thank you in advance.
Bring it. Bring your
Bring it.
thoughts.
Eileen, what's going on with our socials these
days? People are in there. People are commenting. Had some nice things to say about Scott on the last show. But I will be a little bit more active this week. I was not as active on the weekend. So thanks for understanding that we took Memorial Day off, which is our normal Monday. Mm-hmm. I had planned to put a little post up there, but things got a little busy. So if you have some thoughts about how we should be using our socials, let me know. I'm all ears. It's fun in there.
It is. And I like to say this every week just because Eileen is a very creative person. I mean, aren't we all? But she's like really good on the socials. She's just like really good. She's like good at it. In a way that I am not, which is why we're a great team.
Yes.
But as we wrap up Apple Vision Show episode 17, if you can believe that.
Can you imagine? We've been around for 17 episodes.
It's funny. It's like 17. I don't know. I do so many podcasts. Yeah. I'm like, number 17, like, was I even there? Yeah, Sarah, you were every week. But anyway, sometimes tunnel vision is part of being a podcaster, but it's fun, and we are so glad that you're having fun with us. Thanks to everybody for listening. And Eileen, I think next week it is truly the calm before the storm.
100%. Yeah. We're basically going to have to gear up. Maybe we could do some predictions or something like that, like what we did before the iPad.
And if anybody has predictions, like if you've been listening to us being like, yeah, maybe you guys are right, but like, also, I think something else is going to happen. Send it.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll credit you.
Yeah.
But, it'd be fun to, kind of do like a more of a roundtable type thing.
Yeah. Let's let us know. I'll post about it on our socials too, and then hopefully gather some comments in there that we could talk about, so we can all kind of be like creating our own bingo card, and like, did this happen? Did this happen? Did this happen?
Yeah, totally. I love bingo. Mm-hmm. Yeah, almost as much as I love connections.
Oh,
yeah. And I crapped out on connections today, so we're not going to talk about that.
Okay.
But that is neither here nor there. For now, I think we're going to go ahead and say sayonara, episode 17 in the can, and we'll see y'all next week.
Bye.
Bye.
All right. 17 in the can. Oh, right.
Can you believe it? I almost said 15 just because in my mind I was like, yeah, I think we're episode 15. No, and 17.
W.S. Scott has reminded us of the 2 extra beta episodes. Like,
oh, yeah. So really, we're episode 19.
Yeah.
If you're gonna, split hairs.
If you're really gonna go into that. And I think I just called them workshop and beta. And then 1. But yeah.
I think there was even a promo. I don't think we would even call it
count that. Like an episode, but yeah.
I mean, just to try to keep her clean, I think episode 17 is what this episode is.
Yeah.
There are always other things, especially when you're launching a new show, but yeah, my gosh, that's crazy. That's just, sometimes I'm like, episode 17, I'm like, have we done 17 episodes? And then someone's like, oh, DTNS episode 2,500. I'm like, have we done two that like, it's, you wake up, you talk about stuff, you go to bed.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm like, I don't even know if 2000 or 17 is different. It just sounds like a lot.
It's a lot. There's a lot going on in the tech world. There's a lot going on.
Well, that's for sure. Yeah.
Per operating system, per device, it's just crazy. Like there's just so much to talk about, and every time I'm like, oh, I don't know what we're going to talk about. We have a lot to talk about all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, it just doesn't end. So
it's
all
true.
right, guys, I'm going to end the stream. I think Android Faithful will be coming up shortly.
Indeed it will. Indeed it will. Yeah. So all the folks on our stream, hang tight. Your Android Faithful friends are coming right up.
All right. Bye, everybody. See you guys next week. Okay.
Bye. See you next week. Bye.